Hi guys, welcome to the Wrestling Retrospective, and in this video I will do my review for NXT Heatwave. So starting off the first match of the night, we had Obafemi successfully defend the North American Championship against Wesley in what was a absolutely brilliant starter. It had a really good start, and then kind of once Obafemi launched, Wesley with kind of like a mega F5 type spinning in the air, fucking London just also just battering really. Obafemi took dominance of the match for the majority of it. Like, I would say that Wesley was really struggling, and though at times he did have some really good answers to Obafemi's offense, this was Obafemi's match to lose for most of it, but it didn't take away from the match at all, as it was brilliant. The chop on the apron from Obafemi to Wesley was brutal. Vic Joseph casually just quoting Eminem "Lose Yourself" I thought was quite funny, and had that kind of comedy element, but in the better way, especially as Booker just like didn't say anything about it at all, as if like he didn't know what he was doing. But yeah, Wesley's brilliant. I see him as like almost, if Rob Van Dam and Sami Zayn came together, it would be Wesley. And I'm glad that I was thinking during the match that, like, if this had been only a few years ago, or maybe not a few years ago, maybe 8 to 7 years ago, you know, Wesley would have probably been stuck in 205 Live with the likes of Cedric and Mustafa Ali, Buddy Murphy, Tozawa, Drew Gulak, all those lot. And though he would have been a really good fit within those performers, you know, Cedric versus Wesley would be awesome. Mustafa Ali versus Wesley would be great. Neville versus Wesley or Pac would be great matches. But like, the fact that he's coming to NXT now and he's going for mid-card championships, and honestly I feel like he could probably go for the World Championship at some point as well, you know, shows that like the betterment of NXT compared to like what it was. Well, not compared to what it was, but like just the worry of him being part of that division rather than keeping in NXT and kind of building up that way. But yeah, I think, you know, the finish of the match came when Obafemi hit more or less a perfect pop-up powerbomb for the win, and he's just brilliant. Like, I think they're gonna absolutely fast track him to the main roster as soon as he loses that North American Championship, because his talents are unbelievable, and the way he just goes about his character and the matches he has are always bangers. You know, I saw a lot of people around putting like Femi versus Gunter versus Ilya, which I think would be an absolutely chop fest, beat the crap out of each other match, and I would love to see it. But yeah, I would argue that Obafemi is the best wrestler on NXT at the minute, because the consistency of fantastic matches he's having it's second to none right now. And yeah, he continues to be the North American champion, and if you ask me, I have no clue who beats him for this championship, because honestly, his run of dominance, his run of great matches, he could be North American champion for a while. Following that, we had Kalani Jordan successfully defend the Women's North American Championship against Sol Rucker in what was another absolutely fantastic match. For me, while watching entrances, I think that Sol Rucker is absolutely a future world champion on the main roster, 100%. But I'd probably get rid of the Surfer gimmick. Like, I understand why she does it, and I get NXT 2.0 and just the NXT way of doing things as far as gimmicks go, and I get it. But if she's going to like excel to that next level, I don't think like having everything about her be a surfer is the way to go about it, as I can't see a world champion being like that. But not that it's like, I don't know, it's like I'm trying not to critique something that is good and it works for NXT. I just would be concerned that it wouldn't translate onto the main roster when she would eventually come up, which again, like a lot of people in NXT, the main roster is a certain for Sol Rucker and probably for Kalani Jordan as well. But the match itself, the opening sequence was absolutely fantastic. The fact that they were constantly not reversing but avoiding each other's moves in like the best ways with the handstands and flips and all this other stuff, it was fantastic and a really entertaining way to start like the first 5 to 10 minutes of the match. And yeah, from then they just didn't beat the crap out of each other, but they kind of out athletic each other in like the best ways. And but yeah, like the match was very evenly contested, which I found very good. The pacing was really good of it as well. It seemed to flow by, but like didn't seem majorly fast. Like all of a sudden, you know, it was just very nicely put together in a way of like it just ran smoothly till we got to the end. My notes have fell. But yeah, but the match itself was actually fantastic. I thought that, you know, we have this thing where every company says that they have the best women's division in wrestling, and I think there's an argument to be made that NXT's women's division is probably one of the best showcased as far as wrestling acumen go, just because of, you know, they got 2 matches on this pay-per-view, they got a few matches on the last one as well, but they're also consistently good matches, whereas like on main roster PLEs, on AEW pay-per-views, like they're not showcased as much, or the matches aren't as consistently good. Like obviously my match of the night for yesterday, well not yesterday, but for Money in the Bank was the women's Money in the Bank ladder match, and I feel like that would fit very well into this place of just having very good women's matches. But then we know from television that maybe the women don't get showcased as well on Raw and SmackDown as they do on NXT. So, but yeah, I think like Kalani, I really wasn't taken seriously as a first champion. I didn't really see why they put the championship on her, but since then and during this match as well, she's proving more and more why they put the championship on her, and making me more, I mean, like, it's all about me, but like it's convincing me more about why they put the title on her, because obviously like the safest bet in that match was to put the title on Sol Rucker. But yeah, I think for the final sequence of the match, Kalani Jordan had a great reversal of Sol Rucker's finisher. The like, was it like a front flip, back flip, summit RKO in the corner, for then set up for her split-legged moonsault for the win. And yeah, just a fantastic first women's match on the card, and just a great way with both matches to get the card started pretty much. And yeah, just the consistency of the women's division is absolutely fantastic in NXT. After that, we had Nathan Frazer and Axiom defeat Chase U to retain the NXT Tag Team Championships. I thought this was a good dynamic change for Frazer and Axiom. They were wrestling as the heels in this match, whereas, you know, in the last match where we saw 2 babyface women go for the title, and they both stayed babyface within the match. In this one, it was slightly different, where we had 2 babyface teams, but Frazer and Axiom played the heels, and of course Chase U played the faces, which I thought was a really good, as I said, change in dynamic pretty much. I thought there was a beautiful German suplex from Duke Hudson, who kind of springboarded over the top rope and then straight into a German suplex. It was fantastic, and Frazer sold it brilliantly as well. I liked how they made very clear that Andre Chase had more or less disappeared, and Duke Hudson was the one getting kind of targeted by the champions. But then the sudden reappearance of Chase U with a Canadian Destroyer, not to break up the pin, but to take out, I think it was Axiom he took out while Frazer was getting the pin, or was it while Duke was getting the pin but Frazer was going to break it. So anyway, there was a pin and a Canadian Destroyer, and it looked absolutely fantastic. But yeah, I thought this was a great way to kind of have Andre Chase returning to the match. And yeah, I think that the Chase U looked good in defeat, but like I think that they've had better matches. I know they've had a run as NXT Tag Team Champions, but it was only like 20 to 21 days or something like that. I feel like they will be Tag Team Champions again, and to be fair, I keep betting against Axiom and Frazer, and they keep winning. So I feel like, on me, I'm underestimating this team a lot. I thought that they would have the issues kind of with each other, with Frazer going for the Heritage Cup, Axiom not liking that, but they came together really well, and yeah, they end up getting the win here. And again, another good closing sequence of the match. But it feels like Nathan Frazer and Axiom survive once again rather than defend once again, as you know, the teams they're going up against are ones that you would have thought we're going to get the win. But yeah, they successfully retain again, and their tag team run continues. Following that, we had Roxanne Perez successfully defend the NXT Women's Championship against Lola Vice in what was a very competitive match, and one of the better matches of the night, if not probably a close second to the main event. But yeah, I thought that Roxanne Perez, for the most part, had a very good answer to Lola Vice's spinning back fist for the majority of the match. She avoided it very early in. She avoided it again when Lola Vice hit her arm on the post, which then started the targeting of Vice's arm for Roxanne Perez, which she did very, very well and in very innovative ways. But yeah, you could tell that they kind of done research on each other as far as each other's finishes goes, with Perez also using the spinning back fist as well, or at least that was what she was using for this feud. And yeah, they were kind of like, this match was very much the case of Perez dominating for the most part because of Vice's injury, but Vice kind of sticking and toughing it out, which again makes sense with the MMA background, that she will be able to kind of survive her way through a match with an injured arm. I thought her transition into the triangle choke at one point was really good. But I mean, talk about making your opponent look good in defeat. You know, Lola Vice took 5 pop rocks and was in a crossface in the middle of the 5. So I think it was 2 pop rocks, crossface, 3 pop rocks, and win. And yeah, Vice looked incredibly good after the fact, just because of how much it took for Perez to get the win. And yeah, Perez, like, she seems to be hitting a certain prime, and she's only like 22, and it's really good to see. And I really wasn't convinced about Perez's second run as NXT champion, but I thought turning a heel has been the best part of this. As a babyface, I wasn't overly convinced by it, but I'm the kind of person who doesn't like really happy, smiley babyfaces, which essentially was what Roxanne Perez was at the time. But she's now coming up on the amount of days that she had the NXT Championship the first time. And to be fair, it feels like she's had it way longer than the first time, but apparently not. She's like 10 days or so off equaling that day's reign. But yeah, I thought Roxanne Perez retaining again, and it is a case of who is on her level, and I have no clue. I honestly was so confident in Lola Vice getting the win here that now that she didn't, I have no clue who's going to beat Roxanne Perez for the championship. But yeah, I feel like this has been a really, really positive reinvigoration for Roxanne Perez as a champion and as a heel, and it works so much better for her. And Lola Vice looks great in defeat, even if she does maybe take a couple of weeks or so off to make sure her arm's okay. But yeah, really positive match, really good showing for the women in both matches overall, and yeah, I'm really happy to see that. So, you know, with Kalani Jordan and Roxanne Perez as your champions, it's looking pretty decent as far as matches on pay-per-view. And finally, in the main event, we got a new NXT champion when Ethan Page defeated Dijon Evans, Sean Spears, and Trick Williams. Dijon Evans is like the kind of Dante Martin and Rey Fenix type, using the ropes very cleverly, and definitely a future champion, not only in NXT but probably on the main roster as well, as he brings something like more unique to the roster on probably both. And yeah, it was just really good. Sean Spears was really smart bringing the chair to the ring and then using it when he did. The barricade spot when Dijon Evans jumped straight over the top rope into Trick Williams, even though he's probably supposed to get Spears or Page, comment which one it was. That was a really cool spot. But yeah, this match was just fantastic. It was just action-packed throughout. I think even when there was a bit of a lull moment where they were all down in the middle of the ring, it wasn't for very long. Like, it wasn't, they weren't like trying to spread it out and get the match a longer time. They were just eventually getting up and straight back into the action again. You can tell just within the altercations in the match that Trick Williams and Dijon Evans have a really good chemistry together, and I know that they're like they're supposed to be friends in storyline, but it worked really well, and it was a shame that we kind of didn't get the one-on-one match. So I feel like that would be a banger match that we'd have to see at some point. Trick's awareness throughout the whole match of breaking up pins was very clever. Something we probably don't see enough out of Fatal 4-Way and Triple Threat matches is the fact that the champion is constantly trying to break up pins, no matter what position they're in, when a pin goes down, that it doesn't involve them. And that finish, absolutely fantastic. You know, harking back to harkening back to the main event of Backlash 2007, where it might have not been the main event. It was one of the main event matches though. We had John Cena defending the WWE Championship against Randy Orton, Edge, and ironically, one Shawn Michaels, where everyone kind of hit their finishers. Michaels did switching music on John. John landed on Randy Orton in a pinning position, and he retained the WWE Championship via accident, essentially. But this time it was slightly different, as Trick Williams hit his finisher with a running knee, hit it straight on Ethan Page, who landed on Dijon Evans and got the pin. And you can tell like Trick is absolutely livid after this, but he kind of brought it upon himself because he's the one that hit the finisher that put Page on top of John Evans. But yeah, absolutely fantastic way to finish the pay-per-view, and absolutely like fantastic match to finish the pay-per-view that was absolutely brilliant overall. Like I would say that the only match that really stood out was the tag team match because it wasn't as high on the level of quality than the rest of the matches, but that isn't like a dig and that it was bad. It was just the case of it wasn't as good as the other ones. But the main event match, the Fatal 4-Way, was absolutely match of the night, and you know, I would suggest going and watching it because it is very good, very action-packed, and probably one of the better Fatal 4-Ways that NXT have done. But yeah, for me, very happy that Ethan Page is the NXT champion. He's fully deserving of having that kind of major championship role, even if it is NXT. I don't feel like that is not a major championship, pretty much. So yeah, for me, very happy for Ethan Page, as I was a fan of his in AEW and in TNA. And yeah, I look forward to seeing what his championship reign is going to be like. So those are my thoughts and opinions on NXT Heatwave. Do put down in the comments below what you thought of the show, what your favourite match was, or did you have multiple favourites, because it was that kind of show where it was just banger after banger. Was it better than Money in the Bank? Yeah, it was. Like, to be fair, like the women's Money in the Bank ladder match was so good, and I'd probably say was the best match of the weekend. But, you know, the Obafemi Wesley match, Sol Rucker and Kalani Jordan, Perez and Vice, and the Fatal 4-Way at the end, all of them were so good. Like, it just show like having like past athletes as well as people who have come up in wrestling, put them all together, and they can put on awesome shows and put on essentially a developmental brand that is superseding the main roster like it has been before. And it seems like we're going back into a black, white and gold era of NXT that could compete with the black and gold era. But yeah, I think obviously at the end we had Joe Hendry show up. I have no idea what that's about, other than the fact that he's probably going to feud with Shawn Michaels. But I look forward to seeing what Joe Hendry has to do with NXT television, because he is so over right now that no matter what he does, he's going to be massively popular. And especially if he wins the TNA World Championship at Slammiversary in a couple of weeks. So that'll be very interesting to have the World Champion on NXT television for definite. But yeah, so do put down in the comments below anything to do with the show or to do with Money in the Bank. Do watch the Money in the Bank review video that came out a couple of days ago, and I will ask you guys to like and subscribe and all that good stuff. I'll see you guys in the next video. Thank you very much for watching. I'll see you later.